Welcome to Creators Cafe. I'm your host, Jessica Payne. I'm a performer, performance coach, and multi-hyphenate creator. I'm going to be bringing you conversations with some of my favorite creators where we talk about the sublime and the specifics of the creative journey. So grab a drink, get cozy. Let's go. My guest, Maggie Szabo, is a recording artist and songwriter. Maggie comes from Canada, but is based in Los Angeles, and she is a multi-platinum, 2-time Billboard #1 songwriter. She's also an amazing artist in her own right. She's released a series of high-profile singles, remixes, and EPs that put her on the map as a pop artist and changemaker. Maggie has over 30 million streams on Spotify, 13 million views on YouTube, and more than 50 notable placements in film and TV. We're talking E!, Disney, ABC, NBC, and Netflix. Maggie also has a hugely successful songwriting career. Her song Slow-Mo reached #1 on the Billboard charts in Spain in 2022, and the artist Chanel, who sings it, took it to Eurovision and got 3rd place with Maggie's song in Eurovision. That's huge. Maggie wrote a song with the K-pop group Le Sserafim, which hit #1 on the Billboard World Albums chart. She also wrote on their album Unforgiven, which accumulated 1 million copies sold on the first day of its release. Please enjoy my conversation with the incredible artist, Maggie Szabo. Welcome to Creators Cafe, Maggie Szabo.
Thanks for having me.
Yay!
How's it going?
Really good. I'm so glad you're here. This is fun.
Me too. It's good to be here.
It's good to get to know you better too.
In person, hanging out. It's nice.
Yeah.
Relaxed.
Yes, beautiful. So what are you drinking today?
This is just some unsweetened iced tea, and I put a little Splenda in there for fun. So,
You're pretty crazy.
Yeah, I know. We're wild. What are you drinking?
I have an iced latte. So mine's from Andante, which is a really good local coffee roaster, which I like. Okay. But they don't have black iced tea. So I went right next door to the next block over is Haute Mess. So it's like hot mess. And it's a French cafe. And it's tiny, but it's really cute.
That's what I love about LA is there's so many, I have never been there.
Yeah.
And I've lived here for years.
Right. And you've it's on Beverly, you've passed it.
Yeah. So there's always something to check out around here, which is nice.
Yeah. And that I like using this as an excuse of I've got to go find some new places.
Totally. It's business.
Yeah. It's all a write-off.
Yeah, exactly.
So how do you think of yourself as a creator?
I think of myself, I would define myself as a recording artist and a songwriter.
Great.
Yeah.
How did you get into the recording artist path? Because I think a lot of people go into the singing path and intend to be solo performers, and then what happens next is always interesting. Was that your path, or did you do something else?
That's a good question, because I guess when you say there is a difference between a recording artist and a vocalist, let's say. And I guess you can define that however you want. For me, it's more like I release music. I am an artist in that sense where I put music out under my name. And so that's kind of what I would define as a recording artist for me. And I have been doing that ever since I was 3 years old. I knew I wanted to sing. I grew up in a small town called Dundas in Ontario, Canada. And singing and dance and music was always just the biggest part of my life. And I kind of knew at that age, that's what I was meant to do. So I started going into singing lessons when I was 7 or 8. I begged my parents to help me figure out what the heck I was doing. So I started seeing different vocal coaches, and then I started going into classical training. Even though I knew I wanted to sing pop for myself, I was trying to learn a lot of the basics and the fundamentals and a good foundation for being a singer. So I trained a lot with a different classical vocal teachers, and I studied, and then that was kind of my basis. And then from there, I started going into writing songs and figuring out how to make my own music.
I love that. I am probably a singer first out of all of the things that I do.
That's cool.
At least time-wise, but also that was my first artistic love, no question.
I love that. I didn't know that.
Yeah. And so I've toured with musicals and done a lot of music directing and singing. One. So that from the beginning, that was number one, and then it swung more to the acting side. But
it's
that was kind of
a good foundation for everything.
Yeah,
it's a really good foundation.
And I started with classical training, but that kind of wasn't what I wanted to do. But that was all of my training.
Yeah.
What did you like have training to get to the pop side, or did you just find your sound, or did you like find artists that you wanted to mimic? Because I think for me, I went to like from classical to more modern stuff and contemporary, and then I was able to get to belt and more modern, like kind of rock sounds. But I have never achieved a consistent pop sound. So this is just a selfish question. What do you recommend for somebody who's like trying to find the pop sound?
I feel like it's such a good question. I feel so strongly about it because I had so many vocal coaches growing up for different parts of my voice. And I always will tell people classical training for a foundation is the most important.
Yeah.
I always knew I was going to go in a pop direction, and I was obviously like never feeling like I wanted to be like an opera singer.
Yeah.
But my vocal coach, Marta Greta Kajzek, I still remember her. She was this Polish opera singer. And before I met her, I was training with some like pop vocal coaches, more on that side of things. And maybe it was just my voice. I had a lot of like certain bad habits with my voice. I was pitchy. I was doing certain things wrong. My technique wasn't great. And so that's kind of when I discovered, okay, maybe I should just start at the fundamentals, classical training. I learned how to sight read. I did my certain classical exams, and it never came natural to me. It was like hilarious, like me trying to sing, these Italian opera songs. It sounded hilarious on my voice.
Yeah.
Because I do all think we're born with a specific quality and style to our voice. Like that is something you're born with. It's like how you look. You can't really change it to a certain extent. But of course you can train your control and your pitch and obviously make the quality of it better. And for me, I just always had more of like a little bit of a different pop voice. But that classical training really helped me as far as my pitch and my technique and how like my voice placement. And still to this day, like I feel like I'm never going to be like a perfect singer, but I've kind of figured out where my voice lives best, and that's what I hone in on, that's what I focus on, and I focus on my strengths in that sense.
Yeah, and I think your sound, first of all, you have released so many songs. I love it.
Thanks.
You have such a beautiful, vast body of work.
Thank you.
And your voice is so consistent across all of it. I think you do lean into your strengths.
Thank
you sound fantastic.
It's a blessing and a curse because in some work environments, like if we're writing, because I don't always write just for myself, I'll write for other artists.
Yeah.
And many times we're writing for, another artist, and I have to demo the song as I always do in the room. But because my voice is so specific, sometimes it doesn't always work in that favor because they're like, can you sound more like this? And I'll try, and I'm like, we can try, but I'm just telling you, sometimes it won't always work. And that's just, that's how it is. I don't have one of those voices that I can sound like a lot of different things, but that's okay for me.
That's so fascinating because I'm the opposite. I have like a chameleon voice. Like I can imitate really, really well, but my core voice is like all over the place.
Yeah. I mean, there's strengths and weaknesses to all of it.
Yeah. So. I mean, mine's probably more helpful as an actor anyway.
Yeah.
But
I mean, for what you do, it's probably a perfect situation.
Yeah. So I really admire, like, you have found this core sound. I love it.
Thanks.
Do you have any tips for somebody who is trying to get a pop sound? What makes your sound or the sound in the area that you're in iconic to that area?
I grew up listening to Destiny's Child and TLC and Tracy Chapman, Mariah Carey, and those were always the kinds of voices that I wanted to sound like. Yeah. And I always just felt that. I don't know why. I loved those voices. So I would try and mimic the runs and their vibrato, and that's just naturally what I gravitated towards. So in my opinion, whatever you love listening to and whoever your role models are, listen to those people and learn from them, because eventually that's, you know, who you're going to be inspired from. And I feel like that's where your voice more stylistically will lean. Yeah.
Yeah. Actually, I love all of those artists, and they all have a slightly lighter, less like muscular tone than I usually lean into. So maybe that's my next step.
Listen,
I love that.
Just dive in.
Yeah. Nice. So I'm interested in your first songwriting steps. How did that come about?
So there was, I had a coach, Ray Lyle. He lived in like the next city close to where I live. So I was like 8 or 9, and I would take the city bus to him after school. Wow. And he was a pop vocal coach. But it was really good to see him because he wasn't also like, he did the artist thing and he was a writer. So I was able to kind of see music from that side of things, not just like strictly vocal training. He was the one that first helped me write my first song. So like he sat down at a piano and he would ask me, what do you want to write about today? And I was going through, at that point, I was like 12, and we had some, you know, family issues going on. So that's what I chose to write about. So it was kind of a great way for me to get comfortable and like dip my toe in the water of writing songs, especially from personal experience. So and I was doing a lot of like poetry. I mean, I was like so young. I was like 10 years old. I was writing these like crazy little poems in my diary. But he was the one that first helped me write like my first song. And that was kind of my first taste. And then eventually I kind of self-taught myself piano just off of like watching YouTube. And then I would just start writing songs eventually on my own.
Wow. Yeah. When you write now, do you go from lyrics first or music first, or is it a mix?
So it's a different, now there's so many different processes. Before, especially when I was really just trying to get more into the business, it was a lot of me independently writing. So me sitting in front of my piano by myself, trying to come up with like song ideas. But now that I'm working on different projects all the time, I'm usually always in the room or working with a producer. So depending on what it's for, we'll usually start with the track first, because we kind of have an idea of directionally like where we want to go, what the vibe we want, up tempo, what the BPM should be. So we start with the track, and then usually I'll start writing out melodies first. I'll jump on the mic, try and get some like melodies down for a chorus, and then the lyrics take shape after that. So that's mostly what the process is. But for example, yesterday I had a writing session, and the writing session yesterday was for my own artist project. And so I knew it was going to kind of be like in the electronic dance realm. So I had the BPM in my head. So on the drive over there, I was coming up with certain lyrical ideas. So that was the process yesterday. So it always depends on what we're writing for. So I write a lot of film and TV songs to pitch, and those are also a very specific direction. And those usually I try and have some concepts in my head before, but yeah, it's honestly, every song is totally different. So there's no one answer.
Yeah. I definitely want to come back to the film and TV side as well, and the collaboration. A nerdy question. What kind of programs do you and your producers love to use the most? Or what microphones? Like from the tech side, if somebody like is a songwriter or is already producing, since you're in it and doing this at the highest levels, what do you recommend?
I feel very strongly about this.
I love it.
As a vocalist, so I have my studio at home. I record probably 70% of all my vocals that I release and put out there at home by myself. I use Logic. I find as a vocalist, it's the easiest way to edit and comp your vocals.
Great.
Most of the producers I work with, they're either using Logic, Pro Tools, what's the other one? There's another one they use. I don't even know. But so it's a mix mash of different things. But a lot of them, whatever program they're using, they'll end up going back to Logic sometimes to record the vocals.
Got it.
So as a vocalist, from a vocalist perspective, I like Logic. As far as equipment, there's 2 microphones I use. The Shure SM7B That's what Michael Jackson recorded his album Thriller on. It's this, like, it's not expensive. It's under $1,000. It's one of those microphones you can literally chuck it at the wall and it won't break. So it's nice to travel with. If I'm going, I would take it to Europe with me if I was going there for a writing trip. Because what's nice about it is I can literally just sit here and, like, record. I don't need, like, the shield around it necessarily. Wow. It's just super easy. You see a lot of people, like, when they're doing podcast recordings, a lot of the times, if they're, like, just talking to a mic, it's that microphone. So it's super durable, but the quality is great. So I'll use that when I'm traveling, or if I have, like, a mobile session set up somewhere. In my home studio, there's a few different mics that I use. The Manley cardioid mic is my ultimate favorite microphone. Okay. I had a few before that, and I was in a session, this was like 5 years ago, and the producer at the time, we were recording on the Manley. It's like a black and red microphone, and that's been my favorite one ever since. So that's hands down. I'll always use that microphone. And then there's different, like, interfaces and inputs that I use, but basically microphone is kind of most important to me. Yeah,
absolutely. In your home studio, do you have like shields or audio panels, or how do you deal with that?
It's a small room, which is nice because there's just less, stuff to take care of on the wall. So I have a bunch of panels. I usually have a shield around my mic, but sometimes I don't even use it just because I get lazy, and, like, sometimes I'll want to sit and, like, bring the microphone back to me and, like, lean it back depending on the vibe of the song, just because if I'm, like, in a relaxed mood. So half the time I don't even use the shield, but I have the panels up. So
okay. Got it.
Yeah.
So that takes some of the room balance out.
I need that. You need that for sure.
Yeah. Okay, great. And then coming back to the especially pitching songs for TV and film, when you're writing those, are you writing for a specific show or a specific network in mind to pitch to, or is it, how does that process work?
So there's two approaches. So when I first moved to LA, obviously I moved out here for music. I didn't even think about writing music for film and TV as, like, an avenue for me. Yeah. And as an artist, it's a great promotional tool. So, like, a lot of my songs, I'll pitch them out to different agencies and music supervisors that I know, because if it gets placed in a TV show, it's free advertising for me as an artist. Yeah. And then on the other side of things, even songs that I'm not releasing or that aren't under my artist project, I'll get involved in certain projects. So there's a couple different ways. 90% of the songs I'm working on now are on, I would call them on spec. Basically, I own them all. I kind of have an idea of what the shows are looking for as far as my style of what normally gets placed from my catalog, and it's up-tempo, positive. They always want, like, good feeling, like summer vibes, that kind of stuff. Yeah. So I have that stuff ready, and I get briefs often, and so I kind of take note now of, like, I've noticed they're looking for a lot of stuff with the keyword togetherness. So instead of me trying, because in the beginning when I was still kind of, like, new to the writing game for film and TV, be like, oh my god, this brief came in, they need a song about family in 24 hours, and then I would call up every producer I knew and, like, you guys, we have to scramble and do this, which, it's fine, there's a chance you'll get it placed, but honestly, there's, like, 1,000 people submitting for that. And the smarter way for me to do it is just, like, I should have 20 songs written in that vibe, because that brief is going to come up again in a week. I already know it because I've seen it 5 times already. So now I just have, like, a catalog of probably a couple hundred songs now, where it's just, like, different vibes about, positivity and feeling good. And then every time I write those songs, I send them out to all my contacts. And sometimes it'll take a year to get them placed. Sometimes it takes a month, but they're out there and they eventually get placed. So it's a lot of that. And then I would say the smaller part of it is, like, I'll get called for a project. Like, my friend he was the music supervisor for Criminal Minds, and they needed a cover of a certain song. He's like, hey, we need this in 24 hours. Can you do this for me? So I did that. Yeah. Similar things where they're like, we need a song about this, like this deadline in 24 hours. Can you do it? So then for those things, of course, I'll jump on. Yeah. often with those, the upfront pay, because it's guaranteed, it's gambling. It's not as much, but at least it's there and it's guaranteed. You know it's going to come through.
Yeah.
So I prefer, honestly, the ones where I can just, you know, I'll go in the studio and be like, hey guys, like, we should write a song about this today. I have a feeling like they're going to be looking for this. And then we can kind of get more creative with it. And then who knows, in 6 months, maybe it'll be like payback and something happens with it. Yeah.
So you're just like investing in your own creation and then trusting it's going to work out.
99% of it is an upfront investment, which, and then hopes something's going to come out of it.
Yeah.
Which I guess I'm a risky person. I love it. So
yeah, that's great. Yeah. And it's clearly like you have found a way to make it work in a sustainable enough way to keep going, which I think is the name of the game.
And I think it's hard in the beginning because you haven't seen results yet. Yeah. So it's really hard to like put all of this effort and time into something where you're like, I don't know if this is going to happen. But then once you do and you see the first thing come in, it gives you that confidence like, okay, it was working for this. If I do more, then the chances of more happening are going to be greater. So it kind of gives you that confidence just to keep doing it.
Yeah.
And for me, I've completely let go of the outcome now. Like, I don't even care. And like, I'll go in and I'm like, you guys, honestly, I don't care if this gets placed or not. I'm just doing this because I love it right now. I feel great about the song. I'm happy in this moment. I've learned to just really let go of whatever happens to it. And I've enjoyed the process way more. And I do feel like because I'm less attached to what happens with it, more just naturally comes.
Yeah.
Which has been a great learning experience for me.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. I feel like that's true. And still when you're in the moment, it's not always the easiest to let go of it.
Yeah.
But I completely agree.
Yeah.
There's like the idea of creating something because you see where things are going. So it's not like from nothing, but it is from like a knowingness of where we're headed.
It's very calculated.
Yeah. And it's very instinctual. And I love that like sense of pairing the creative with the business aspect.
There is a lot of that. So, and like a lot of people I work with, I find there's people take on different roles, and I feel like I kind of naturally, I'm very actively now, especially in the last year, I've been super empowered in building up my contacts and who I know. And I really love the feeling of that, of having more control.
Yeah.
So I've taken on kind of like with people I work with, I'm the one that's sending the stuff out. It's my contacts that I'm trying to go for, which is great for me because I love that kind of leadership.
Yeah.
But it's also more pressure. Like, then now I feel this obligation, like, if stuff doesn't get placed, I feel like it's my fault. So there is that, like, I really, really want this to work. Not even for me, but just because, like, I know my two friends over here who, like, hustled to get this song done with me, and he, like, produced it amazingly, and it sounds amazing. I want it to get placed now.
Yeah.
So it was, like, about a year ago, we all have, like, these different points in our career, but I decided I really want to try and build up who I know and my list of contacts even more.
Yeah.
Because I was doing a lot of placements through different agencies, and part of me was like, I also, like, whoever those agencies know, like, how do I get to those people? So, because these agencies, they're working with 15 artists, and I'm going to send this agency 10 songs. The artist next to me is also sending them 10 songs. So out of my 10 songs, that agency is probably sending one person to their contact, right?
Yeah.
So I want to just try and get more contacts so I have more direct access. So I started really focusing on my networking abilities and who I know. And I went to New York a few weeks ago for our Sync conference just to meet more people. I'm going to one in 2 weeks. So it's a lot of, like, time invested, but I think it's so worth it. And as a creator, like, we can't sit back and rely on other people to do stuff for us anymore.
Yeah.
We really have to take ownership in the outcome of what we want. So that's really what I've focused on this year, which has been fun.
That's so motivating and inspiring. I love it. Are you ready to be confident and comfortable in front of a camera? Well, my name is Jessica Payne, and I would love to help you. I'm an actor, acting coach, and the host of the Creators Cafe video podcast. I have helped thousands of people to learn the skills of a Hollywood actor to be more comfortable in their body, voice, and mindset whenever you press record. So if you're an entrepreneur, a business person who needs to be in front of the camera, or you want to get into digital content creation, I would love to offer you one-on-one on-camera performance coaching so that you feel like when you press record, you can be your best self. Check out the link below for more details, and I can't wait to work with you. Let's have fun together. So when you're writing for film and TV, are you releasing those as part of your like releases and your streams, or is that in the vault? How does that work?
That's a good question. So there's so much content and volume that I write for film and TV projects, and I do find stylistically it happens to usually be different than the stuff I'm releasing under my artist project. So for that reason, I'm not usually releasing them unless it happens that style is kind of more leaning towards who I am as an artist. And if it's like, okay guys, we got it placed in this project, it's coming out in 3 weeks, then I'll put a release together for it, because it's kind of nice sometimes riding on that wave of like, it's coming out in the show, we can use it for promotion, then I'll kind of line up a release around it. But for the most part, no, it's not usually getting released unless it's like a special kind of situation. What
releases were you most excited about for the film and TV stuff? What, or, you know, maybe there's like a guilty pleasure show or one that you were really excited about?
Well, when I first started writing, I was always obsessed with the show Selling Sunset.
Yeah.
And I wasn't really doing a lot of like writing for film and TV. Or like actively really trying to pursue it. I was getting some placements, but just like off of random songs that like whatever. I wasn't even like trying to really write for that. So once I started honing into like, this is something I want to focus on because I love it. It's a great exercise for me as a writer, and like it's fun. I would like figure out what my favorite shows are, and I would listen to all of the songs in those TV shows. So Selling Sunset was one of them, because they had so many songs that they were placing in each episode, and stylistically the songs kind of aligned with what I did. So I kind of just, one of my producers and I, we like got together, we made a playlist of all the songs, and we just like got inspired, wrote a bunch of songs. I reached out to the music supervisor of that show, and then the next season they placed like 5 of our songs.
That's so incredible. I love that. You were
so
just
that
like,
was fun, because it was like a first like, we're gonna like spend a bunch of time and like who knows what's gonna happen. But I reached out I found him I reached out to him on Facebook. And that's how it happened.
I love it. I love it. So for most of your placements, you had mentioned agencies. Are there agencies you work with, or online? I know there's like sites that you can match up with.
So the sites,
how does that work?
I don't usually use the sites because I feel, I tried in the beginning, but I just feel like it's a lot harder because there's so, like, when there's a site like that, there's just so many people uploading, whereas at least if you can find an agency, obviously it's a lot more curated. But of course, to get in with an agency, it's harder because there's a lot more hoops you have to jump through, and like they're very specific as far as the sounds they want and who they want to work with. So I work with different agencies, and basically they're the middlemen between the artists / writers and the actual like people who are placing the songs in the TV show. So they're kind of just like sync reps, they also call them, and they just have different artists that they work with, and then they'll go out, send out the songs to different projects that are looking, and they take their cut. So there's that avenue. So there's a bunch of sync agencies that I work with in that sense.
Got it.
And then when you can, it's better if you can go directly to the actual show. And those are like, most of the shows have like a music supervisor that they hire, but they're really hard to get to.
Yeah.
So it's great if you have those contacts, and there's a couple people that I know, and, you know, we've gotten placements through that way. That's ideal, but that's a lot more difficult.
Yeah, it's interesting because in the acting world, you only have one agent that you work with most of the time. You could work freelance, but it's pretty rare.
Yeah.
But that's kind of equivalent to an actor getting themselves in front of a casting director you can't reach out to them directly most of the time.
Unless you have like some weird contact and they're your friend. It's the same thing.
But when you do, they're the decision maker, so that's kind of like exactly what you want.
That's the same process, except like the difference is with what you're talking about, the reason why you only have one agency is because they're representing you, right?
Yeah.
It's just you as a whole, and obviously you can't like duplicate yourself 5 times and have different agencies for all of you. Whereas with music, it's songs. So like there are certain sync agencies that work exclusively, meaning they don't want anyone else working like certain songs. Mm-hmm. I prefer not to work with those situations because sometimes I find like they'll just sign songs exclusively and then they don't do anything with them. Yeah. Whereas I'm like, I want to still have control of my songs. So there are certain situations if I know the agency where they're actually working really hard. But most of the time I try and work with non-exclusive agencies. That way I can still send it out to different people. But yeah, it's a very similar thing. It's just they're representing songs instead of like you as an actor, right?
Great. I love that explanation. Thank you. If you place a song on Selling Sunset, is that song like, does it have exclusive rights for Selling Sunset, or you just placed it, they licensed it?
That's the beautiful thing about it.
Oh, that's so good. Okay.
There are specific cases, like if it's a massive ad campaign for like Chevy, they'll be like, and this is rare, but if it's a massive budget, massive brand, they're like, you can't place the song with another car company.
Got it. Okay.
So there are certain situations like that, but 99% of the time, what's great about it is if this show places my song, they're paying for the permission to use it. Yeah. They're not owning or controlling anything. I retain 100% control of all of it. I'm just giving them for a price. Yeah. They get to use it for this 30-second spot in this scene, and that's it. Yeah. And then the songwriters of the song, me and whoever I was working on it with, will collect the back-end royalties. Mm-hmm. And then we can get that song placed over and over again. And the nice thing is, it's usually like, we'll write 100 songs, let's say, and I have 100 songs out there that I've sent to different people. And it's always like the 5 that get placed over and over again. So I feel like it's a bit of a snowball effect with specific songs. Like if it gets placed in this show, I find that it's like those moneymaker songs that just get placed over and over and over again. Yeah. And you never know which songs those are going to be. And I'm like, I don't know why this one out of all of these ones is the one, but that's why I always say you have to write 100 songs to get that one magic one, and you don't know what it's going to be, but you have to have written those 100 ones to get there, Yeah,
absolutely.
So, yeah.
Ooh, I love that.
That's what's nice about it.
Okay, so moving on from the TV film world, what about for you artistically from your artist project? What are the songs or the projects that you're the most proud of or excited about that are coming up?
So, in the last year, I have really been writing a lot of songs in like the pop electronic space. So there are different labels that I've been doing just like singles deals with. A lot of them in Europe, just because that kind of music works really well there. So I've been like in the last year, I've been working a lot to try and build up like a good group of songs that I can continuously release for like this calendar year and the next calendar year. So there's like a song coming out every like 4 weeks, which I'm really excited about.
Oh, wow.
So I just not too long ago like put out a song with this artist Marco Nobel, who's a DJ. So we did a song together, and for the upcoming collaborations, there's another DJ. We're still working out the details, but in 4 weeks, I think that song's coming out. I can't say who it is yet, but so there's just different, artists like that. But most of the ones is just me as my own artist, which is kind of fun because it's just my solo project, and there's different labels that I've been working with, which is really nice having that support. Yeah, kind of takes the pressure off of me, because before I was doing a lot of like independent releases, so like I'm dealing with everything. So now I'm at a point where the labels are helping out, which is really nice, and it allows me to just focus on like the writing and the creation. So at the end of this month, there's a song coming out, which I'm really excited about. And yeah, just a bunch of stuff for the rest of the year. So yeah.
Oh, that's excellent.
Yeah.
Where did your collaborations come about for your work for the song Slow Mo? Because that's the one that made it to Eurovision and placed in the top 3. Yeah. And I really love the song. It's so fun.
Thank you.
And I encourage people to watch the music video.
That one was like, it's so crazy because everything that happened with that song, like, you know, if I could do it 1,000 times over and over again, I would love that. And it's just all of these random events had to happen for it to get that outcome. We wrote it on Zoom during COVID. One of my producers sent me a track. I got on Zoom with 2 friends because we were writing it originally for someone else, and it was like going to be a Spanglish song. Mm-hmm. I don't speak Spanish, so we got on Zoom. I was helping with the melodies and certain parts of the English-speaking parts of the song. They were helping out with the Spanish stuff. Long story short, we loved the song, how it turned out. The artist we originally had written for, I don't even know if she ended up hearing it. Who knows? It didn't work out. And then our friend Leroy said, you know, he sent it over to Eurovision Spain, and there's this artist, Chanel. She heard the song and she loves it. She hasn't really released anything on her own yet, but she's super talented. Would you guys be open to like letting her record it and release it? Yeah. So we looked her up. And at the time, I'm like, you know, I don't know. It's hard to say. Yeah. Because every song, like, especially like special ones like that, we knew was a special one. It was so precious for us. Mm-hmm. So it's a risk sometimes giving it to an artist who hasn't really put out a lot of stuff before because you just don't know what's going to happen. Yeah. And we don't know if she's really going to, like, work it or whatever. So she ended up recording a demo of it, and she sounded amazing on it. Yeah. So we're like, okay, she can record it and do what she wants with it. So she ended up going to, it's called Benidorm Fest. So every country in Eurovision has their own internal country's contest, and that's how they pick which artist is gonna represent and go on to Eurovision. So like a lot of the countries kind of do that. So for Spain, it's Benidorm Fest. Okay. She performed Slow Mo, competed against a ton of other artists in Spain, and then she ended up winning, which meant that she was gonna be the artist to represent Spain in Eurovision. So that was already like a hoop we had to jump through, and like we don't know because everyone's so talented, and like we don't know who's gonna get picked. Yeah. So she won, which was great. Then, even before Eurovision aired, she's an amazing dancer, and she started posting videos of like her singing and all these things. So it started going viral online already before Eurovision, which was great, like pre-promotion for the song, because once she performed it on Eurovision, I mean, I don't even know, tens of millions of people watch Eurovision. So like, it's just a huge audience. She performed, and then basically the song became a hit. Yeah. Went #1 in Spain. It was like her first breakthrough artist song. So there was just so many like different random things that had to happen. And like, I know having a song in Eurovision was never something I was ever going to predict for that song, especially like as a writer, because I know so many friends in Europe, they'll do like every year they'll go to writing camps to try and write for Eurovision. And they'll, like, work all year to get songs to get placed in Eurovision. And, like, this literally happened without us even trying. So it's just so bizarre to me how it happens sometimes. Because, like, you just don't know what song it's going to be. Yeah. And maybe that's why it worked so well, because it was so unpredictable. And, like, stylistically, a song like that and a performance like that was very, like, it just wasn't really done before. So I think it took a lot of people by surprise, which is why it worked so well. Yeah. So it was kind of just one of those magical songs, and like we always knew we loved it, but there's a lot of songs we love, and sadly sometimes things don't happen with them. Yeah. But yeah, we lucked out with that one. A lot of like universe, luck, stars had to align for that to happen. Yeah. So
yeah, and definitely I think it must come from that, create the 100 things and put them all out there.
Totally. And you just don't know. And it was literally during COVID. We were on freaking Zoom writing a song. And we're like, you know, or half the time we're just joking around. It's like, who knows?
Yeah.
And that was the one. So that was the first #1, like Billboard #1 platinum song that I got as a writer, which was super exciting. So like getting the plaque and all of that was amazing. And it was just, I don't know, I'm just like, it's just like every other song I wrote. You just don't know which one's going to be it.
Yeah. I'm sure it's that like attention to detail and focus and passion, and then letting it go.
Totally letting go. I'm like, whatever, who cares? It doesn't matter. The universe will take care of it. So.
Wow. Is that what led you to working with the K-pop group?
Completely separate. Like totally that was like totally random again. I was like, I was like 8.5 months pregnant. I get this email from one of the publishing companies in Sweden that I know. And they sent me this track, and they were like, hey, there's like this K-pop group called the Seraphim, and they're working on an album. They were kind of new at the time. Nobody really heard of them. And I hit up my friend. I'm like, hey, like, do you want to get together today? And like, we could just write to this track. I don't know. It was so random. And I happened to be free that day when the publishing company hit me up. So it was kind of just good timing. And I'm like, I don't know, I'm just sitting around pregnant. I have nothing else to do. So, because I wasn't traveling, I was in town.
Yeah.
So we did it. We sent it off like we do with, you know, every other song we do. And then a few months later, they sent me an email saying the song is making it onto their album. And then there was an EP. Mm-hmm. The EP came out. EP went #1. Like, they blew up. It was just one of those, like, by chance things. And so it's, I don't know. It was one of those things.
I mean, you just, but also like you were in the right place in the right time, and you'd positioned yourself.
And like,
and then
and
you did it.
The opportunity was there. I could have, you know, I feel like I see it a lot with people where they're like, they're so attached to the outcome where it ends up hindering, you know, a lot of opportunities for them. Like, this, you know, they just sent me the track. In my mind, I'm like, probably nothing's going to happen with it, but I'd rather work than, you know, sit at home and like watch TV for like 4 hours. Like, it's just, I feel like so many times people pass up opportunities because they don't have faith that something could happen with it. And honestly, the odds are stacked against us. Like, most of the time, unfortunately, nothing's going to happen. But I feel like if you love it enough, should be the thing that drives you, because it was so fun writing that song. Like, I got to hang out with a friend, we got to write, we felt hella productive that day, and I had zero expectations for it, but because we did it, and because we ended up, like, you know, choosing to spend our 4 hours like that, the payoff was amazing, and I'm so glad we did. So, yeah, it was just one of those things. The opportunity was there, and we jumped on it, and we said yes.
Yeah, I love it.
So, yeah.
How do you pick the people that you choose to work with?
That's a really good question.
Or again and again?
That's because I'm super particular now with, I say, you know, I'm saying like, say yes and just do it. But I also have learned when to say yes, and I think it takes experience and intuition and like listening to your gut to know the opportunities that are not worth it. Yeah. And there are certain opportunities that I will just say no to just because the vibe is off, or and even if I'm like something could come out of it, but like, I know this sounds crazy, energetically I don't feel good about it, I'll just say no, because I would rather spend my time sitting at home writing a song by myself, and that's it. So now I'm just at a place where I just don't want anyone to waste my time. So everyone else has to take it hella seriously. Like, you know, I want everyone else to be hustling at like fucking 100% all the time, because I take this seriously. This is my life. So I want to make sure whoever I'm spending my time with and working, they have to take it at that same level. And I think it's also just like, after doing this for so long, there's certain people that I've worked with that I know their track record and is good, and I can trust them. So it's kind of nice and easy where I know, like, when that company sends me an email, I know it's going to get heard. So it makes me feel more confident that, like, at least the chances are there. And also people that just treat you with respect. Like, there's a lot of companies that will reach out and they want to work together, but their terms are horrible. And I'm like, whoever was going to sign this has no respect for themselves. So, like, and clearly you don't have respect for a writer if you think that you can, like, keep 100% of our publishing for nothing.
Ooh,
so it's just
yeah.
those kind of things that you kind of learn. But it's so hard in the beginning because you do want to, like, jump on every single opportunity. And I think there is something to be said. Like, yeah, you have to do that. You have to make mistakes. You have to get burned. You have to get screwed over a lot in order for you to kind of start to be able to recognize the opportunities that are worth taking.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So.
Do you wind up working with the same producers?
Yes.
A lot of the time?
Yeah.
Okay.
There's, like, probably, like, 10 people now that I love, that I work with, and we have the same goals, and, like, stylistically, you know, we work well together. I'm always trying to meet new people and find new people to work with, but it's hard. Like, it's really hard to find people that you align with and who just want to do this because they love it and who work hard. And so it is hard to find. I'm always open to it, but I just find myself now, there's a very specific circle of people that I will work with now.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
How does it work when you're choosing to work with a team? It's very different. Like, it's so different than a typical 9-to-5 job where you go in and you work for a company and they pay you. How does that kind of process work, especially if you're working on something that's like a sync or on spec? Is that just something that you and the producers, like, come to terms with before you start, put the work in, put it out there, and then see what happens? How does that work?
That's a good question. So, you know, it's an investment of time for everyone. Yeah. It's 90% of the time. So, like, for a lot of the sing songs, everyone walking into the room knows, you know, it's a gamble. We're going to write the song, we're going to put the time in, and hopefully something happens out of it. Yeah. Especially, so it's for sync. For artist stuff, if we're writing on spec for other artists, like if we know this artist needs songs, we'll write a song for her. For my own artist project, and we'll kind of have an idea before we walk into the session what we're doing that day. We always kind of have a goal in mind. If it's for an artist project for myself, if the song ends up getting released, then of course, like, the producer, whoever produced it, they'll end up being involved on the master or whatever. There's certain situations. But, you know, it's always kind of just we're working on whatever is going to happen with the song. And it's so hard to know because you don't know exactly what you're going to write that day. And sometimes it ends up being an amazing song. Sometimes it ends up being okay. And, like, maybe it might not get used for something. So, yeah, most of the time it's just kind of doing it in hopes that something good is going to happen. There are certain situations where, you know, artists will hire us to go in and write, and it's an upfront fee, and we'll do that. To be honest, I don't love doing that. I don't know why. It's just, if it's for a specific thing, it's okay, but I kind of like, I don't know, I guess I like the gamble.
Well, and I think it feels a little more, I think some artists prefer kind of commission-based work, and some prefer the personal thing and just make it what you love, and then if it picks up, it resonates, that's great. Yeah, so that makes sense to me.
There's different ways to do it, and, like, obviously certain projects for film and TV, those will be commission-based, where they'll commission us to do it up front, and those happen sometimes too, and that's fine. I like doing those, but most of the time it's just going in and being a bit more free.
Yeah. I love that freedom. Okay, so I always ask my guests for a creator's challenge that my listeners could do in 10 minutes with whatever they have. What would you suggest?
So when I first moved to LA, I didn't know anyone, so I was, like, trying to stay busy, and I was just trying to, like, meet people and, like, keep my day full. Yeah. So I committed to writing, I think it was, like, 1 to 2 songs every day, just by myself. It didn't have to be a full song. It had to be at least a chorus. So I would say a good challenge for anyone who's, you know, into writing or singing or music, and it's a great exercise, write at least a chorus. Give yourself literally, like, 10 minutes. Yeah. And it can be horrible, but as long as you just get a chorus, it's such a good exercise to just not have to overthink everything. And I was talking with one of my producers about it before because, like, obviously the quality when you're actually writing for stuff and pitching it, the quality has to be amazing, right? But there's also, it's such a numbers game. So the quantity, you also have to have so many songs. And like, it's just, the more songs you have, the more chances of certain songs, something's going to happen with them.
Nice.
He said quantity over quality leads to quality over quantity. Because the more you do, the more exercise you're giving yourself and the better you get at it, which then leads to quality. So I thought that was so brilliant, and I love that. So yeah, the more you do, the better you get at it, and it'll eventually lead to like more amazing things later on.
That's such a cool way to think about that, because they both were aiming for both of them, honestly.
Totally.
But doing quantity first to get to quality makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. So I think it's a good exercise. So just take 10 minutes and write the fastest song ever.
I love it. I love it. That's brilliant.
Yeah.
Where can people find you?
My website is maggieszabo.com. And social media, Twitter, X now, I guess.
Yeah.
Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, official Maggie Szabo.
Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect. And I'll have that in the show notes.
Great.
You were fantastic. Thank you so much,
Thanks
Maggie.
so much for having me. This is so fun.
Yeah, cheers.
Cheers to another week.
Yeah.
Join the community and share your creative challenges on Instagram and Facebook at Creators Cafe by Kika Labs. And also check out my website, kikalabs.com, KIKALABS.com, to sign up for the mailing list so you always know when a new podcast is released, and to check out my coaching and digital courses to help you be a more confident and joyful creator.